I pulled into the parking lot of Riverside Events Hall at exactly 6:30, half an hour before Kayla's quinceañera was supposed to start. The March wind cut through my coat as I stepped out of my 2008 Honda Civic, the one with the dent in the passenger door I'd never bothered to fix. Around me, gleaming SUVs and luxury sedans were already filling the spaces closest to the entrance. I smoothed down my navy dress, the good one I bought at Macy's 3 years ago for my church friend Patricia's daughter's wedding, and checked my reflection in the car window. My silver hair was styled neatly, and I'd even put on the pearl earrings my late husband Carl had given me on our 20th anniversary. "You look fine, Dorothy," I whispered to myself. "You belong here. She's your granddaughter." The hall's facade was lit up beautifully, with strands of white lights wrapping around the columns and a banner reading Kayla's Quinceañera in elegant script. I'd seen the photos Amanda posted in the family group chat, the decorated tables, the DJ booth, the catering setup. My daughter had spared no expense. I felt a small surge of pride knowing that the $3,000 I'd contributed had helped make this possible. It had taken me 4 months of extra weekend shifts, cleaning Mrs. Henderson's lake house and taking on 2 new clients in the Bloomfield Hills area, but it was worth it. Kayla was my only grandchild and 15 is a milestone. I walked toward the entrance, my heels clicking on the pavement. A young valet in a crisp white shirt smiled politely but didn't offer to park my car. I suppose the Honda didn't warrant that kind of attention. Inside the foyer, the sound of Latin music drifted from somewhere deeper in the building, and I could see glimpses of pink and gold decorations through the archway leading to the main hall. "Can I help you?" A woman in a black catering uniform appeared in front of me, her expression neutral but her eyes scanning me from head to toe in a way that made my stomach tighten. "I'm Dorothy Mitchell," I said, straightening my shoulders. "Kayla's grandmother. I'm here for the party." The woman's face didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "One moment, please." She disappeared through a side door, and I stood there in the foyer, suddenly very aware of the expensive perfume lingering in the air and the sound of laughter coming from the main room. Through the archway, I caught sight of Amanda in a stunning emerald cocktail dress, her blonde hair swept up in an elaborate updo, holding court with a group of women I didn't recognize. She was laughing, gesturing with a champagne flute, completely in her element. The catering woman returned, this time with an older woman, who I assumed was the head of the staff. They exchanged a glance I couldn't quite read. "Mrs. Mitchell," the older woman said with a practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes. "The main hall has been arranged for the VIP guests and immediate family. Given the space limitations, we've set up a lovely area in the kitchen where you can enjoy the food and still be part of the celebration. There's coffee and you'll be able to see everything from there." For a moment, I couldn't process what she'd just said. The kitchen. She wanted me to stay in the kitchen. "I'm sorry," I said slowly, my voice catching slightly. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm Kayla's grandmother, her father's mother. I helped pay for this." The woman's smile became somehow colder. "I understand, ma'am, but these arrangements were made specifically by Mrs. Amanda Porter. The main salon is reserved for important guests only. The kitchen area is quite comfortable and—" I didn't let her finish. Something inside me, maybe it was pride, maybe it was the sudden crushing realization of what my daughter actually thought of me, snapped. I turned without another word and walked straight back out those glass doors into the cold Michigan night. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get my car key into the lock. Inside the Civic, I sat in the darkness, my breath coming in short gasps that fogged up the windshield. The kitchen. Amanda had instructed them to put me in the kitchen. Her own mother, the woman who'd raised her alone, who'd worked doubles at the cleaning service so she could have dance lessons and college application fees and a decent wedding when she married Brandon. I thought about all those years in our small apartment in Warren, how Amanda used to be embarrassed when her friends came over, how she'd started dropping hints in high school that maybe I could dress a little nicer for parent-teacher conferences. I told myself it was just teenage insecurity, that she'd grow out of it. But she hadn't. She'd just gotten better at hiding it, at managing me like I was a liability to be contained. The tears came then, hot and angry. I wiped them away roughly and pulled out my phone. My fingers found Robert Cunningham's number, the hall owner, a kind man in his 70s who attended the Methodist church 2 blocks from my apartment. I'd met with him personally 6 weeks ago, sitting in his office while he showed me the space and quoted me prices. When I'd explained that I wanted to contribute to my granddaughter's party, that it meant the world to me, he'd been genuinely warm. He'd even knocked $200 off the rental fee when I mentioned I was doing extra cleaning work to afford it. He answered on the 3rd ring, "Dorothy, everything all right?" "Robert," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "I need to ask you something. The contract for tonight's event, who signed it? Who actually paid the deposit and the final balance?" There was a pause. "Well, you paid $3,000 toward it. That was about 40% of the total cost. Your daughter Amanda and her husband covered the rest." "Why? Is something wrong?" "The contract," I pressed. "Whose name is on it?" "Yours and Amanda's both. You're listed as co-hosts." "Dorothy, what's happened?" I closed my eyes. I was just told I couldn't enter the main hall, that I should stay in the kitchen because it's reserved for important guests. The silence on the other end was heavy. Then Robert's voice came back, tight with controlled anger. "That is absolutely unacceptable. That's not how we do business, and that's certainly not how people should treat their own family." "I'm going to Robert," I interrupted gently. "You have the ability to cut the power to that hall, don't you?" Another pause, longer this time. "Dorothy, I'm not sure that I paid for 40% of tonight. I'm listed as a co-host. And I'm asking you, as someone who's known me for 15 years through church and community, to turn off the electricity in that building right now. Dorothy, please, Robert, I need to make a point. And then I need you to do one more thing for me." I could hear him breathing on the other end, weighing his options. Finally, he said, "What's the other thing?" "I need you to call Amanda and tell her that there's been a power outage, but that it can be fixed immediately if I approve it. Tell her I'm the co-host and that I have the authority to keep those lights off until I decide otherwise." "Lord have mercy," Robert muttered. "You're sure about this?" I thought about that catering woman's dismissive smile, about Amanda's emerald dress and champagne flute, and the careful distance she'd maintained from me for years, about Kayla, my granddaughter, who I loved fiercely, but who I'd watched slowly learn to be embarrassed by her cleaning lady grandmother. "I'm sure," I said. "All right then, give me 5 minutes." I sat in my car watching the illuminated building, my heart pounding. Part of me couldn't believe what I was doing. I'd been raised to turn the other cheek, to be humble, to put family first. My mother used to say that pride was the devil's favourite tool. But there was something else she used to say too, something from Proverbs that I'd heard in church just last Sunday. "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute." Maybe I was speaking up for myself. Maybe that wasn't prideful. Maybe it was just necessary. Exactly 4 minutes later, every light in Riverside Events Hall went dark. Even from the parking lot, I could hear the collective gasp of 200 guests suddenly plunged into blackness. The music cut off mid-song. For a moment there was complete silence, and then the confused murmur of voices began, rising in volume. My phone rang. Amanda's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times, then I answered. "Mum," her voice was sharp, panicked. "Mum, where are you?" "The power's out, and Robert just called me. He said you're co-host and that you have to approve turning the lights back on." "What is he talking about? Where are you?" "I'm in the parking lot, Amanda. The parking lot." "Why aren't you?" She stopped. I could almost see the realization crossing her face. "Did someone say something to you?" Your catering staff told me the main hall was for important guests only, I said quietly. They told me I should wait in the kitchen. The silence stretched out. In the background, I could hear Brandon's voice calling her name, could hear the rising anxiety of expensive guests in designer clothes stumbling around in the dark. Mum, I'm sure there was just a miscommunication, was it, Amanda? A miscommunication, or did you actually tell them to keep me out of sight? Mum, please, we have 200 people here. Kayla's friends, Brandon's business associates. We can't, this isn't the time. I paid $3,000 for tonight, I said, my voice still calm, but underlaid with something harder. I worked weekends for 4 months. Mrs. Henderson's lake house, the Johnsons' vacation home, 2 new clients in Bloomfield Hills. My hands were raw from scrubbing floors, so Kayla could have a beautiful party. I know, Mum, and we appreciate, do you? The question hung in the air. Because I don't think you do, sweetheart. I think you're embarrassed by me. I think you have been for a long time. That's not, Mum. You're being unreasonable. This is Kayla's night. We can talk about this later. Tell me the truth, Amanda. Did you instruct your staff to keep me away from your guests? The pause told me everything I needed to know. It wasn't like that, she said finally, her voice tight. I asked them to set up a comfortable space for you where you wouldn't have to deal with the crowd. You don't know these people, Mum. You'd be uncomfortable with Brandon's colleagues and you'd be uncomfortable with them seeing me. That's not fair. The kitchen, Amanda. You wanted your own mother to watch your daughter's quinceañera from the kitchen. I heard her breath catch, heard the tears in her voice when she spoke again. Please, Mum, please just let them turn the lights back on. We'll talk about this, I promise, but Kayla's about to do her father-daughter dance and put Kayla on the phone. What? Put my granddaughter on the phone. What? My granddaughter on the phone. More silence, then muffled voices. Finally, Kayla's young voice came through, uncertain in the darkness. Grandma Dorothy. My heart squeezed. Hi, sweetheart. Happy birthday. Grandma, what's going on? Mum's crying and everyone's using their phone flashlights. And Kayla, honey, I need to ask you something and I need you to be honest with me. Did you know I was coming tonight? A pause. Yeah, Mum said you'd be here. Did she tell you where I'd be sitting? Another pause, longer this time. She said you might be more comfortable in a quieter area, that the main room would be too loud and crowded for you. I closed my eyes, fresh tears burning behind my lids. And you believe that? I don't know, Kayla said quietly, and for the first time I heard something like shame in her voice. I guess I didn't think about it. Grandma, I'm sorry, It's not your fault, baby. You're 15. You're not supposed to have to think about these things. I took a deep breath. I love you very much, Kayla. I want you to have a beautiful night, but I need you to understand something. Your mother worked very hard to get where she is, and I'm proud of her. But she didn't get there alone, and the people who helped her, who sacrificed for her, they deserve to be treated with dignity. Do you understand? Yes, Kayla whispered. Good. Now, let me talk to your mother again. Amanda came back on, her voice raw. Mum, please, I'm going to have Robert turn the lights back on, I said. But I'm not coming inside. I'm going home. Mum, no, you can't at least come in for... I'll see Kayla another time. Tomorrow maybe we'll go to Big Boy for breakfast, just the two of us like we used to when she was little. But tonight, I need you to think about what you've done. I need you to stand in your beautiful dress in your expensive hall and think about who paid for you to be able to stand there. I'm going to call Robert and tell him to restore the power. You give Kayla the party she deserves. But Amanda, this conversation isn't over. Not by a long shot. I ended the call and immediately dialed Robert. Turn them back on, I said when he answered. You sure? Yes. And Robert, thank you for everything. Dorothy, you're a better woman than most. I hope your daughter realises that before it's too late. I sat in my car and watched the lights blaze back to life, watched the building glow again like nothing had happened. Inside, I knew the party would continue. The DJ would restart the music. Amanda would wipe her tears and fix her makeup. Kayla would dance with her father and blow out her candles. Life would go on, but something had shifted. Something fundamental had cracked open. I started my car and drove home through the dark Michigan streets, past strip malls and churches and houses with lights in their windows. When I finally pulled into my apartment complex in Warren, I sat for a long moment before going inside. My phone buzzed, a text from Kayla. "Grandma, please don't be mad. I love you. Can we really get breakfast tomorrow?" I typed back, "Of course, sweetheart. I love you too." 9 a.m. at Big Boy. Her response came immediately. "Yes. And Grandma? I'm sorry. Me too, baby. Me too." Inside my small apartment, I made myself a cup of tea and sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Amanda had done her homework for 12 years, where we'd eaten countless dinners together, where I'd held her when she cried about boys or failed tests or friendship drama. The same table I'd refinished myself when she was in college, sanding away years of scratches and stains. I thought about tomorrow's conversation with Kayla, about the harder conversation I'd need to have with Amanda soon, about whether our family could heal from this or whether tonight was just the visible rupture of something that had been breaking for years. Outside my window, I could see Mrs. Chen across the courtyard washing dishes, could hear the Lopez family's TV through the thin walls. Regular people, hard-working people, people like me. And I realised something sitting there in my quiet kitchen. I wasn't ashamed of who I was. Not anymore. Whatever came next, I would face it with my head held high. I slept poorly that night, waking every hour to check my phone, half expecting another call from Amanda that never came. By 8:30 the next morning, I was already dressed and sitting in my car outside Big Boy, watching families file in for Sunday breakfast. The smell of pancakes and coffee drifted out every time the door opened. Kayla arrived at 9 on the dot, driven by Brandon in his black Mercedes. He didn't get out, just gave me a small wave through the windshield that I couldn't quite read. Kayla climbed out wearing jeans and a University of Michigan sweatshirt, her long dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked younger without all the makeup from last night, more like the little girl who used to spend weekends at my apartment watching Disney movies. "Hi, Grandma," she said quietly as she slid into the booth across from me. "Hi, sweetheart. Happy birthday. The real celebration." I smiled, trying to ease the tension in her shoulders. We ordered blueberry pancakes for her, scrambled eggs and toast for me, and sat in uncomfortable silence until the food arrived. Finally, Kayla spoke. "Mum cried for like an hour after you left. Dad was really mad. I set down my fork. Mad at me, mad at Mum. I heard them arguing in the car on the way home. He said what she did was cruel and that you didn't deserve it." Kayla picked at her pancakes. "Grandma, I really didn't know. I mean, I knew Mum sometimes, I don't know, acts weird about you around her friends, but I didn't think she'd actually tell them to hide me in the kitchen." Kayla's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry. If I'd known, I would have said something. I would have made sure you were sitting at our family table." I reached across and squeezed her hand. "I know you would have, baby. This isn't about you. It's between me and your mother. She wants to talk to you. She called me this morning and asked if I'd bring you back to the house after breakfast." My stomach tightened. "What did you tell her?" "That I'd ask you." "But Grandma..." Kayla looked at me with an intensity that reminded me suddenly of myself at her age. "Whatever you decide, I'm on your side. What she did was wrong." We finished our breakfast talking about school, her friends, her plans for the summer. Normal things, safe things. But when Brandon pulled up to collect her, Kayla hugged me tighter than she had in years. "Will you come?" she whispered. "To the house. I think Mum really needs to talk to you." I thought about it for a long moment. About how easy it would be to just go home, to let this wound fester, to maintain the polite distance that Amanda seemed to prefer. But something Robert had said last night kept echoing in my mind. You're a better woman than most. Tell your mother I'll be there at 2 o'clock, I said. Amanda and Brandon's house in Rochester Hills was everything my Warren apartment wasn't: sprawling, modern, with a 3-car garage and professionally landscaped yard. I'd only been there a handful of times, always feeling like a visitor rather than family. Amanda answered the door herself. She'd been crying. I could see it in her swollen eyes and blotchy skin. She wore yoga pants and an old Michigan State sweatshirt I recognised from her college days. "Mum," she said, her voice breaking, "thank you for coming." We sat in her pristine living room, the kind with white furniture that made me nervous to touch anything. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. "I'm sorry," Amanda finally said. "I'm so sorry. What I did was unforgivable." "Why did you do it?" I asked quietly. She wiped her eyes. "Because I'm ashamed. Not of you, of me. Of the fact that I've spent 15 years trying to be someone I'm not, trying to fit into Brandon's world, trying to make people forget that I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment with second-hand furniture and government assistance. There's no shame in that, Amanda. I know that now. Or I'm starting to. But for so long, I wanted to erase it. Every time Brandon's colleagues or the country club women asked about my background, I'd be vague. I'd talk about Michigan State, but not about how I worked 3 jobs to afford it. I'd mention you briefly, but never that you cleaned houses, never that you," her voice cracked, "that you sacrificed everything so I could have more than you did." The tears were streaming down her face now. I felt my own eyes burning. Last night, when the lights went out and Robert called me, I was furious. But then I stood there in the dark and I realised I did exactly what I was afraid people would do to me. I treated you like you weren't good enough, like you were something to hide. She looked at me, her mascara-streaked face full of genuine anguish. "Mum, you're the strongest person I know. You raised me alone. You taught me everything that actually matters. And I repaid you by relegating you to the kitchen." I let her cry, let her get it all out. Then I said, "Amanda, I forgive you, I do, but you need to understand something. This isn't just about last night. This is about years of feeling like I embarrass you, like I'm not polished enough or educated enough or wealthy enough to be part of your new life. You're right. It's absolutely right. I don't need you to be ashamed of your past, and I don't need you to showcase it either. I just need you to treat me with basic dignity, to remember that the reason you're sitting in this beautiful house is because I scrubbed other people's beautiful houses for 20 years. Amanda nodded, unable to speak. "And one more thing," I said, my voice gentle but firm. "I need you to teach Kayla different values than the ones you've been showing her. She's a good girl, but she's learning from you that some people matter more than others based on money or status. That's not how your grandmother raised me, and it's not how I raised you. Somewhere along the way you forgot that." "I know," Amanda whispered. "I'll do better. I promise I'll do better." We sat together for another hour, really talking for the first time in years. She told me about the pressure she felt in Brandon's social circle, about the competitive motherhood culture at Kayla's private school, about her fear of never measuring up. I told her about the pride I felt watching her succeed, but also about the loneliness of being kept at arm's length from her life. When I left that afternoon, something felt different, lighter maybe, or just more honest. 3 months later, I was in Amanda's kitchen, the actual kitchen, not hiding in it, helping her prepare for Kayla's graduation party. Brandon walked in and handed me a glass of lemonade. "Dorothy, Amanda and I have been talking," he said. "We want to do something for you. You've been working cleaning houses for over 30 years. We'd like to pay off your apartment and help set you up so you can retire. You shouldn't have to work so hard anymore." I looked at Amanda, who nodded with tears in her eyes. "That's very generous," I said slowly, "but I'm not ready to retire. I like working. I like my clients. Mrs. Henderson and I have coffee together after I clean. The Johnsons send me postcards from their vacations." Brandon looked confused, but Amanda understood. "Okay, But at least let us help with your car. That Honda's been making terrible noises. I smiled. The car, I'll accept, thank you. What they didn't understand, what maybe they couldn't understand yet, was that my worth wasn't tied to what I did for a living or how much money I had. I'd learnt that sitting in that dark parking lot, making the hardest phone call of my life, I'd learnt it in that moment when I chose dignity over acceptance. The graduation party was beautiful, and this time I sat at the family table right next to Kayla, wearing my navy dress and my pearl earrings and my head held high. When Kayla gave her valedictorian speech, she talked about the women in her family who taught her about resilience and sacrifice. She looked right at me when she said my grandmother cleaned houses so my mother could go to college. My mother worked 3 jobs so she could build a better life. They taught me that there's no shame in honest work, only in forgetting where you came from. I cried. Amanda cried. Even Brandon looked misty-eyed. After the ceremony, Kayla came and found me. Grandma, I've been thinking. I got accepted to Michigan State with a full scholarship, but I was also thinking maybe I could live with you for the first year, save some money, if that's okay. I pulled her into my arms. Sweetheart, you're always welcome, always. That night, driving home to my small apartment in Warren, I thought about everything that had happened since that March evening. The darkness, the phone call, the lights coming back on. Sometimes it takes turning off all the lights to finally see what matters. Sometimes you have to stand in the darkness and demand to be seen. And sometimes, if you're blessed, the people you love find their way back to you, not because you've changed to fit their world, but because they finally remembered the value of yours. I pulled into my parking spot, looked up at my modest apartment building with its worn siding and aging playground, and smiled. This was home, this was enough, this was mine, and I was done apologising for it.